Anyway, I'm working on the Cadillac today. I hope you guys stop by and hang out with me for, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes. Now, as you can see, I've got rust here. Last night, I sprayed it down with Eastwood's Metal Prep. And it's basically a phosphoric acid, just like Osfo's a phosphoric acid. They add other things to it for wetting agents and other properties that they want it to have. And what it's supposed to do is basically kill the rust, convert it to iron phosphate, which will not spread. Now, I did this last night. My shop right now is 65 degrees and there's still some wet spots. I got a little wet here. I didn't even spray up there, but the overspray got in it. Because my technique for putting it on, whether it's right or not, is I'll spray it on with a bottle, and I usually use a foam brush and brush it around. You're supposed to keep the area wet with either Eastwood or Osfo for at least 30 minutes so it can do its thing. Now, I think it's pretty much done its thing. It's a little white powdery, but it's still wet. So what I did is I got online and I found Southern Polyurethane Forum, and those guys say you want to get rid of the acid. Now, I could leave this on here till it dried. It'd probably be another 2 days because I really put it on probably too heavy to start with. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to leave this here to dry out and be a rubbery mess, because what's going to happen is it's an acid. And if I putty over it, it's going to make the putty gooey and it may never dry. And if I just prime over it, anything chips into it, it'll pop up a bubble. It'll start bubbling and causing problems and starting rust again, because the acid underneath it, I guess, doesn't work great with the regular top coats and things like that. I'm going to wipe it off as per the instructions of the Southern Polyurethane Forum. It's an old post from 2017, and he gives a pretty detailed explanation of how to get this stuff off and neutralize it so that when you top coat it, you're not going to have any following problems with putty that'll turn gooey because of the acid that's left behind, or paints that'll screw up because the acid's left behind. Osfo does say to follow up with an oil-based paint, and I'm thinking that's like, if you spread this on and then, you know, just put it on light, let it dry for 24 hours and hit it with like a Rust-Oleum oil base or something like that, I think it'd probably be fine. But I'm going the automotive path because this is a car. So I think I'm going to have to neutralize this and clean this thing up. Okay, neither of these that I've been able to read in the instructions give a really good detailed explanation on how to remove residue. Now, typically it tells you if you want to rinse it off, you have to re-wet it with the actual solution, which is the Osfo or whatever solution you're using, the phosphoric acid, re-wet it, and then wash it off. What this guy says here, it's Barry, and he's a paint fanatic, and he's a staff member. This was written back in 15, so, you know, it's 7 years old, but it's the closest thing I could find. Anyway, the only acid cleaner is SPI, that's Southern Polyurethane Industries. Recommends is Osfo, PPG, and DuPont metal preps as long as their instructions are followed to a T. All right, so I'm following the instructions pretty much to a T, although I'm using a different brand. Well, I'm pretty sure it's the same kind of stuff. Osfo is a great product. This guy really likes the Osfo. This is what he writes. Oh, we give scare warnings because we want people to call so we can make sure they know how to neutralize it so no problems will arise. Only one way to use, and here it is. Use as needed and apply it as many times as needed to get the spot clean. Let dry and leave for months if you want. Doesn't matter. To neutralize the Osfo must be wet. So if dry, re-wet with itself and let it set 1 or 2 minutes, and with a clean rag and water, wipe off like washing a car and then dry. Next, then DA the car with 80 grit clean, wax and grease remover, let set an hour and coat with epoxy. Tells you not to try to dry sand it off because it grinds into the metal and reduces adhesion. I don't want to monkey around with that because I certainly don't want it falling off. Anyway, so this is on the SPI forum. If you want to see it, probably just Google search it. So back over to the door. Let's try this out. So what I've got here is the Eastwood metal fast etch that I used. I'm going to use this to re-wet it, make sure it's all wet again. And then while it's wet, I'm going to use soapy water in this bucket. As far as rinse goes, I'm going to use this water to rinse with a rag, and then I'm going to wring it out into this bucket. So I always start with a clean bucket. Okay guys, one other thing I'd like to mention, this stuff will eat your floor. Keep it from getting on your concrete. It does neutralize pretty quick with some baking soda, so if you need to neutralize it, that'll work. So I got you guys set up underneath the car. I'm right here, I'm going to work on this. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to wet it down with some of the original stuff. I applied that on there a little bit heavy, so I've got some drips, and it's dripping down onto the piece of brass I have laying there. Now, I could catch that. You can reuse it. It says so on the container, so I think I'm going to let it sit on there just a little while longer. So I'm going to just wipe off all this excess. Wow, look at that. Looks like it's taking part of the green off with it. So let's wipe this thing off. This is really going to be quite simple what I'm doing. I'm just going to wash it in a clean rinse. And then I'm going to blow dry it. All right, guys, I got it pretty well wiped down. I got my soapy water. Start right up here and just wash it down. Almost like you're washing a car is what the instructions said. So that should neutralize that. All right, I got that pretty well cleaned down with that soapy water. Now let's see what we can do with the rinse. Oh yeah, lots of water. I'm gonna just rinse this thing right off. Wring it off in the one bucket, dip back in the other bucket, and I can see where I wringed it off, I'm getting a little bit of soap suds. So I got some of that off with this rag. That's good to see. So I'm pretty close here. This isn't a very big spot. It's just the bottom of this driver's door. So I'm gonna give it one more rinse with this stuff. And then I'm gonna give it a wipe down for drying. I don't wanna leave it wet, that's for sure. So supposedly by now, I can see this is all discolored. It's turned kind of black and dark colored. So I'm thinking that's all been neutralized, hopefully. All right, I guess it's time to do the dry process. Give me a clean little towel here. Now my barn in here is pretty dry, which is good. It's wet and it's kind of snowy outside today. We're supposed to be getting that big cold spell. All right, it looks like I got that pretty dried off. Now, I think it's time to hit it with this. I'm not gonna set it on real high heat, but I am gonna turn the fan up. This newfangled electronical heat gun doesn't seem to have a whole lot of blow to it. Let me see if I can get my old heat gun. Yeah, the old Super Stripper, it blows a lot more, so I'm gonna dry it up with that. You know what else? I could probably dry it up with compressed air. But it's really drying pretty quick. Okay, I think I got it pretty dried up. As far as temperature goes, it's warmed up like a nice summer day, so not too bad. And I think I got it for the most part dried up. I might dry it a little more, but you know what? With the residual heat that's already in it, it'll probably dry pretty quick. Looks like I got some holes and stuff to fix. Now, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to go crazy and cut all this rot out. I just can't. I'll never get done with this car. So it is going to wind up getting some putty in it, but I want to seal that all up tight so it holds together for as long as possible. Now that this rust has been treated and neutralized, I think I should be okay. Well, guys, like I said, I'm not a pro body man. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but that's what I'm going to do with it. We're going to see how it's going to turn out. Okay, so anyway, I got 3 more to go, so I'm going to get cracking on that. In the meantime, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next one.